please, I can take the test. No.
Stop. It's not that big of a deal. Don't make it worse, okay?
Please, I
Don't make it worse.
I can do the test, please.
Welcome back to Advocacy, Alchemy with Professor Ross. Today we have a good one, guys. Today's lecture takes us to Elyria, Ohio, where a traffic stop outside a police station turns into a full-on legal unraveling. A woman working as an Uber driver is pulled over for speeding and swerving. But what should have been a quick check turns into a DUI arrest. It's all captured on bodycam. Now, what stands out in this case isn't just the alleged intoxication. It's the web of contradictions, the failed sobriety test, and the breakdown that follows. With that, let's jump in.
Any idea why I stopped you today?
I have no idea.
No? Well, a couple of reasons. The first being another officer saw you driving very rapidly past our police station, likely higher than the speed limit, seeing as it's 25 there. And then when you came over the bridge there, you crossed over the dotted line, dashed line, into the other lane. Any reason you'd be doing that?
No, ma'am. I'm just picking up a passenger.
I'm sorry, you're what?
I'm just picking up a passenger.
Have you been drinking today?
No, ma'am.
No, not at all?
No.
Okay, is there a reason that I smell an odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from inside the vehicle then?
No, ma'am.
Is there any alcohol inside the vehicle?
No, ma'am.
Okay, why don't you do me a favor and go ahead and step out. Where are you coming from today?
I chopped like a passenger off and maybe like Elyria, and I came out here and...
Okay. So you said you've not had anything to drink today?
No, ma'am.
Not at all?
No, ma'am.
Like nothing at all today?
I mean, it's probably like 2 in the morning.
You drank
Like,
at 2 in the morning?
No.
Like, you're saying
probably,
it's currently 2 in the morning. You're denying the use of any alcohol today?
Yes.
When 2 seconds ago you admitted to it?
I did not admit to anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's go over here to the sidewalk where it's flat and...
This test should not be applicable against a person who has...
If you are having that problem, then you shouldn't be driving at all, period.
No. I can drive. I can
But
drive
that's what I'm
safely.
Hands down at your sides. $18, $19, $20. What are you doing now?
20.
Huh? I said 9 and you just took 20, so...
Well, you said 9 and I took 20.
Okay.
Okay, please call a lawyer.
Are you done taking my test? Okay. Go and turn around.
No.
You said you're done.
Ma'am, I did not say I'm done, ma'am. No, I
Put
can
your hands
take the test. No, please, I can take the test. No.
Stop. It's not that big of a deal. Don't make it worse, okay?
Please, I do
Don't make it worse.
I can do the test, please. No, listen, I will take the test.
Do you have
without
anything
the
on
attorney.
you?
I need to talk to my baby dad, please. I have a child, please.
Okay, where is your child?
No, please.
Liar.
No,
Take
can
a
I?
wide
No, I did nothing wrong. No.
All right, come on.
Period.
Get in the car.
No, I did nothing
Get in the
wrong. No, you got me f***ed up. I did nothing wrong. No, I did nothing wrong. No, I'm not drunk. Y'all got me f***ed up. No, y'all got me f***ed up. No, y'all got me. Y'all got me. No, y'all got me f***ed up. No, y'all got me f***ed up. Give me my phone. No.
Stop.
I did nothing f***ing wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hobble her.
Hey, we're gonna have to hobble her. She's about to bust my window.
All right. This will be a Facebook story. I bet you like doing this to me. I bet you like hog tying me. I bet you like doing this. I bet you. Yeah, you enjoy it. Yeah, I'm a. Yeah, I'm a. Wow.
Can you tie that to the bottom?
Yeah, this is what I serve you. Yeah.
Can I get down there?
Yeah, you're gonna put my heart against when they see I'm not that drunk.
Close your side.
When they see I'm not that drunk.
How'd you feel about that one? Why are people always kicking the police doors? Who wants to be hobbled? All right, this all came from Elyria, Ohio. So we're in the Ohio Revised Code. We only have one law we're dealing with today. That's operating a vehicle under the influence, OVI. This is the same thing in many states as DUI, driving while intoxicated. They just call it different there in Ohio. All right, this law makes it a crime to operate a vehicle while under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or both, especially if it's to the extent that it impairs the driver's ability to operate safely, or if you have a prohibited blood alcohol concentration. Now you might wonder, what does a state have to prove to show that someone is operating a vehicle while intoxicated? Number one, that the woman was operating the vehicle. That's pretty easy. Number two, she's under the influence or over the legal limit. Now, at the end of this video, they have to take her down to the station to make her blow for a breathalyzer. We don't know if she's been drinking or something else. She did say she had some kind of medical diagnoses. I couldn't hear what it was, but the officer made a correct point. Why are you driving then? Number three, her ability to operate is impaired. She couldn't pass the field sobriety test here, guys. Look, the first test she was given was simply take 9 steps in a straight line, turn, take 9 steps back. She took 18 straight that way. What's the penalty? Now, if this is her first offense, it's anywhere from 3 to 180 days in jail. So they do have a minimum of you have to do 3 days in jail. A fine of $375 up to $1,075. Her license could be suspended from anywhere from 1 year to 3 years. All right. Ohio also does different colored plates for people who have been convicted of OVI. They have a yellow colored plate. She also could be made to get an ignition interlock, which she has to blow on it each time just to start the car. She also is going to have to do some driver intervention courses. Everyone who gets an OVI in Ohio has to go to those courses. Now, no matter where you're listening from, your state is going to have something similar for the crime of driving while intoxicated. There's probably going to be some courses you got to go to. You might get your license suspended. There's going to be some fines, a bunch of fines, okay? Some of the fines that aren't even talked about right here in the statute is, look, she's going to have to pay to get her license reinstated once she has done whatever the punishment's going to be. All right, going back specifically to this case. All right, here the officer said that he smelled alcohol. He witnessed her swerving. There's some inconsistent statements, and there's a failure to properly perform a full field sobriety test. She stopped the testing. Even though she failed that one test, she stopped the testing by asking him because she asked for a lawyer. At that point, when you ask for a lawyer and you're stopped, the police then can only arrest you. That's all they can do. They can't talk to you anymore. So they have to stop everything and they have to act on what they have. They don't have much. They can arrest you. Then you can go in front of a judge and the judge can decide whether they have probable cause for your continued arrest or to let you go. Now, here, she wasn't charged with anything else, but I mean, she could have got a resisting arrest charge. Now, I don't know if she broke anything in the car, but she definitely did several stomping moves on that door, window, and the car in general. But next, let's move into our evidentiary standards, because they're still at play here, even on an obvious DWI/OVI case. Let's walk through the 6 levels of evidence, and we're going to be using what happened here in Elyria on this OVI stop. We'll start at the lowest, we'll work our way up to the highest. First, you have mere suspicion. Now, at this level, the government or the police, they can't take any action. This is simply a gut feeling, a hunch. No proof. Let's say you're the officer, you see a car go flying past a police station. Something in your gut says, that's not right. Let me go check and see what that speed was that went past here. No ticket just yet. There's no stop just yet. It's just a feeling, but it causes the police to go take a look. Let's move up one more level. Reasonable suspicion. Now, at this level, the government and the police have specific and articulable facts that suggest criminal activity is happening. At this level, the police, they see the same vehicle and it crosses into incoming traffic. Now, that's a traffic violation. That's clear. That's observable. It does give the police the ability to stop a person and do a brief investigation to see if there's some criminal activity happening. So at this level, reasonable suspicion does justify a stop, short investigation. Moving up another level, probable cause. Now at this level, the government and the police can take serious action. This is the one where you read about in the paper, somebody got arrested. That means the government or the police had probable cause to arrest someone. At this level, facts and evidence combine in such a way to where a reasonable person would believe a crime has occurred and the suspect is involved. Now here the officers, they walk up and they immediately smell alcohol coming from the woman's car. The driver stumbles both over her words and the field sobriety test. She denies drinking, then admits that maybe earlier, then denies again. This is where probable cause is met. Her arrest is going to be legal every day of the week. Let's move up one more level, preponderance of the evidence. Now at this level, this is where the government or maybe even me and you may be bringing someone into court for a civil case. This is when it's required that we have about 51% of the evidence in our favor to win. At this level, it's usually known as more likely than not your claim is true. That's what this level means. Now let's say this woman rear-ended someone while driving impaired. A juror would ask, is it more likely than not that her drinking caused the accident? The way she couldn't walk or follow simple instructions? Yeah, it probably would be. Now here, luckily, they stopped her before she was able to pick up anyone, drive them around while she's impaired. Good job, officers. All right, next, let's move up to clear and convincing evidence. Now at this level, it means that your claim is highly probable and substantially likely to be true. You need to have about 75% of the evidence in your favor to win a case that requires this standard. This is required for those cases that need more receipts to prove that something happened. Somebody stole your identity. You need to show some things. Hey, look, they actually took out some credit. They opened up a new line of credit with my identity. Oh, they bought a new car. They bought a house with my identity. Something. You're about to ask the court to change custody. You have to show that there's something clearly wrong with the other side. And because of that reason, the court should change the prior ruling. Now here, let's say that she's a repeat offender, or she drives full time for Uber. Driving drunk, that's clearly unsafe. Now, is it going to affect that job? Probably. This is also the level that's going to be used for the administrative hearings dealing with her license and its suspension status in Ohio. All right, moving up to our highest level, beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this is known as the gold standard. This is the highest level in the American justice system. It's required for every criminal case. This level means there's no other reasonable or logical conclusion besides the defendant being guilty of the charges that have been brought. Now, to convict this woman of operating a vehicle while impaired in criminal court, the prosecutor needs the jury to believe with certainty that she was operating while impaired. Now, it's going to help that he's going to be able to have somebody to testify or to show with bodycam that she was swerving, the odor of alcohol, inconsistent statements showing that failed test in full, not speeding through it like we have, the erratic behavior while in custody, all that kicking the door and acting a donkey, all that. I think that all would be toward removing any reasonable doubt that, yes, for this small charge of OVI, she did that. All right, next, let's go into our jury perspective and put ourselves on this jury. All right, let's transition into our courtroom. You're on this jury. Now, you're not just watching the body cam video anymore. You're going to hear some testimony. And you're going to sit in the jury box all day and listen to everybody talk about this one case. You're watching behavior. You're reading facial expressions. And now you're being asked to judge this situation. First, the scent of alcohol. The officer came to court and he told us he smelled alcohol. She said no. Then she says maybe she drank way back in the morning. And then she says no again. Now, we don't have a chemical test, but we can, based on all that we've heard and seen, we can still subject his testimony to a credibility test. How much weight do you give what the officer's telling you? Officer doesn't seem to be lying. The woman did fail the field sobriety test right afterward. You might can put a little bit of stake in what the officer's saying is probably true. All right, let's move on to the next question. The field sobriety test itself. Does it show clarity or confusion? Now, she agreed to take the test. But boy, does she fumble with those instructions, right? She counts wrong, she gives up, and then she asks to restart. And then finally, all while under arrest, she argues that she can drive safely. Now, as a juror, what did you see? Did you see someone that's impaired, or did you see someone that's overwhelmed? That takes us right into her behavior after the arrest. Now, you saw her reaction. I always wonder, how often do people even break the window on those cars? I thought they were bulletproof. That's what I thought. You saw her being detained in the back of the car, heard the screaming, her continued refusal to act right. They had to hobble her. She cries, kicks the cruiser door, all that. Now, even if the state didn't charge her with obstruction or resisting arrest, after watching all that, would you have expected them to? So we only have the one charge, OVI, operating a vehicle while impaired. No disorderly, no obstruction, no resisting. Was this officer discretion? Was it mercy? Was it being concerned about some mental concerns with this woman? Would you be satisfied with that outcome if you were a citizen of Elyria, Ohio? All right, so you know what to do. Tell me in the comments below, guilty or not guilty, and why. So what can we take away from this stop in Elyria, Ohio? First, what you say is going to matter. When you say something like, well, I'm driving for Uber and I haven't been drinking, you might experience the domino effect. Inconsistent statements are going to invite some serious scrutiny, and scrutiny paired with some erratic behavior, that's going to build a case against you. Number two, officer discretion is powerful, right? Despite the yelling, kicking, and the need for the hobble, one charge, OVI, not obstruction, no resisting, no disorderly conduct. That's a decision that's shaped by experience, judgment, probably some compassion too. Third, credibility is king. In a courtroom, it's not just what you say, it's whether people believe you when you say it. And when your story changes about 3 times in less than 5 minutes, jurors are going to notice. Finally, your intuition always matters here. From the moment the officer smelled the alcohol to the second you, as the juror or the viewer, felt something was off. We saw how instincts help guide both law enforcement and legal judgment. Now, as always, I need to hear from you. First, should there have been more charges? And would you have voted guilty based on what you saw? At what moment did your gut tell you something wasn't right about the situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video with somebody else. Remember, this is Advocacy Alchemy. I am Professor Ross. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Be safe out there.
If you've got ideas or videos you want me to lecture on, send them to the queue. And come back tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. for another lecture.